So this year I've read 41 books. My goal this year is 50 books. I think I will hit it. But I always get the question, Yan, how do you read so much? How do you have time to read? And, I get it because as an adult, it's very easy to get wrapped up in everything and, just get taken away by work, life, friends, relationships, family, all of that. And it gets pretty hectic. And then if you bring in your phones and social media into it, it feels like you just don't have any time to read at all. And it's so easy to get distracted. So, how do we actually make time to read? Growing up, it was very easy for me to pick up a book and get lost in its pages. I remember when I was about, I think 12 or so, I was reading Eclipse. From the Twilight Saga, and I think I was a little too young to be reading those books, but I finished that book in a day. I was at my grandmother's house after school, and I just kept reading it. And to be able to finish a big book like that in one day doesn't happen often anymore. And then as I got older, I found myself reading less and less. And honestly, I think that's because of school and how much they forced us to read for school. And when you're forced to read something that you don't want, reading has become less fun. Back in college, I had three jobs. I was a full time student and I was busy reading textbooks, articles, essays, any of the books that they assigned us for reading. I just didn't have time to read for enjoyment anymore. So I think during my college years, I was reading a lot, but I wasn't reading for fun. So now fast forward, I my life is a little less hectic now, hence why I can read so many books in a year. But I still find that I'm not reading as much as I like. Like I want to go back to how it was when I was growing up and I could just get lost in a book and lose track of time. And something I realized that it wasn't just me feeling that way. A lot of my friends and other adults that I've met have always expressed to me that they want to read more and they just don't know how to. And that is why in today's video, I want to talk about the practical tips and tricks that I use to help read more as an adult without rearranging your whole life. Okay, so my first tip is to bring a book everywhere you go. Anytime I pack my bag, when I go out, I always slip a book in there. Usually it's my current read. So right now I'm reading BioShock Rapture. Me and my boyfriend have been playing through the whole BioShock game series, BioShock 1 and 2. We just finished number 2. We're going to head to 3 soon. But I found out that BioShock has a prequel that was written after games 1 and 2. So I immediately went to Barnes& and Nobles and I picked that book up. So right now it's in my bag waiting for me to read it whenever I have time. But back to why bringing a book everywhere you go is the first step. It's because it's making this habit easy and accessible. If you're always carrying a book with you, it's one less point of friction that keeps you from reading. And you never know when you actually have time to read. It could be on the train, the bus. It could be when you're waiting for your friend to show up for lunch and you got a couple of minutes, or you could be reading on your lunch breaks. And those little minutes that you spend reading instead of being on your phone add up. And before you know it, you have finished a book. Yes, carry a book everywhere you go, but what type of books should you get, or what books should you read? I always get this question. I want to start reading, but I don't know what to read. So my tip is to read things that you like. And how do you know what books you like to read? So whenever I have a friend who doesn't know what to pick to read, I always ask, what genres do you like to watch? Like on TV, do you watch a lot of sci-fi, horror, reality TV, romance? Like I try to figure out what they like to watch usually, and then I tell them to pick a book in that genre. So if you like to watch sci-fi and fantasy books might be for you. If you like to watch documentaries, I feel like nonfiction would be great for you. Try to look at the things that you're interested in when it comes to watching things on TV and movies, and then translate that into books that are in that same genre. Personally, for me, I really love horror movies, horror shows, psychological horror, sometimes a documentary. So the books that I lean towards usually fall into the horror category, and I do read nonfiction from time to time. I've also been getting into sci-fi and fantasy lately. I think I'm just getting tired of reading so much horror novels, and I want something different. And that's the thing, when you start reading, your palette develops and then you start wanting other genres. And I was never a sci-fi person at all. But now I can find myself browsing the sci-fi section of the bookstore. I also want to note that reading should be enjoyable for you. It shouldn't be a punishment. And if there is a book or a genre that you're not enjoying, it's okay to put the book down and get another book. And that leads me into our next tip is to build your bookshelf. So, what I mean by this is have a bookshelf with some books that you haven't read before. I suggest if you're just starting off, maybe 3 to 4 books that you haven't read before, only because the current book that you're reading, you don't know if you actually will like that book. And what if you do want to put it down? So, to continue the momentum of wanting to read, you can just easily go to your bookshelf at home and pick up another book that interests you. To be honest, I have about 50 books on my shelf, I think, and I've only read hmm, maybe 30 of them. So I have 20 books on my bookshelf that I have not read, but I've bought in hopes of being able to read it one day. But it's good because when I finish one book, instead of just going to the bookstore and finding time to do that, I can just go to my shelf and pick something out. Also, having books that you haven't read on your bookshelf gives you something to look forward to when you finish your book. It is totally okay to go to the bookstore and pick up a few books that you want to read, even though you have something that you didn't finish or you have other books waiting on your shelf. So, my next tip is to set 30 minutes a day to intentionally focus and read. You don't need to read all day or have long periods of reading time to be a reader. I don't even do that. And honestly, I haven't done that since I was a teenager, probably around 14, 15 years old. So I suggest reading at least 30 minutes a day. And of course, I know life gets busy and sometimes I can't even reach that 30-minute mark a day. So even reading for 5 minutes is a good place to start. So if you guys didn't know, I run a book club here in Houston, Texas. We meet 2 times a month. The second Thursday is the book club discussion. And then the fourth Thursday of the month is when we do our book reading social. And this is where we socialize with each other for 30-minute intervals, and then we do 30 minutes of reading, silent reading together of whatever book you choose. It's just a way to have accountability and get some mileage in the book that you've been wanting to finish. We do 2 rounds of this, so collectively you're reading an hour on that day, which is really nice. But it doesn't feel that way because of how we're breaking up the time and then also the social aspect of it. So if you're in Houston and you're looking for a book club to join, consider checking my book club out. I'll put a link in the description for the Instagram page with all the information that you need. And just feel free to also reach out to me if that's something that you guys were interested in. So speaking of my book club, this leads me into my next tip. Join a book club or a community. They say you are who you surround yourself with. So if you want to become a reader, you kind of have to surround yourself with people who at least love books. And if you don't know where to find book clubs, you can always check your local library, your local bookstore. I think some Barnes and Nobles have also started a book club that meets in person. And then you also can check on Meetup. So my book club originally started on Meetup before I decided to move it to Instagram. And yeah, it's been great so far since the move, but definitely look into your local library or bookstore if you're looking to do that. And let's say book clubs aren't your thing, maybe find a buddy to read with. So my boyfriend is not a reader at all. And he would occasionally join in on our book club discussions and readings, but most of the time, if he wants to read, we'll do a buddy read. So our last buddy read was The Alienist by Caleb Carr. That one was a really good one. It's a psychological thriller set in the 1900s in New York, and they're trying to catch this serial killer who is going after immigrant boys who are also prostitutes. It's a whole thing. There's a TV show about it. They also made the second book into a second season of the TV show too. It was a hefty book. It was about, I think, 600 pages, 600, and we read it together. And we've done Strange Houses also, which was also a buddy read between me and him. So it's a really fun time. You have someone else that you can discuss the book with without having the pressure of finishing a book in a book club, if you know what I mean. Because I know like certain book clubs have certain deadlines where you have to finish this book by this time. Let's go into my next tip. It's to start small. Shorter books are okay to read too. You don't have to be like any of those booktubers or TikTokers that will read 700-page books and they'll read 5 of them in a month. I don't even do that. And, the amount of books that I've read this year, it does not come close to other booktubers on here where they're reading 100 books a year. I can't do that. So it's definitely okay to read a book that's 100 to 250 pages. And honestly, I really like those books. One of my favorite books that is I think around 150 pages. Days at the Murasaki Bookshop, Japanese novel, and it's about this girl who is going through a breakup with her boyfriend, and she moves in with her uncle at the bookstore. And through it, she meets all these regulars that come in, and she kind of is like jaded and doesn't believe in love anymore and doesn't want to love. And then through her experiences with the people that she meets, she realizes like, the way to live life is to love people and things and everything like that. It's a heartwarming story. And then my second favorite book that's also pretty short is The Little Prince. It's a French classic, also a feel good story, children's novel, and that is the book I always recommend people when they're trying to get into reading and they don't want to read a big book at first. And on the topic of reading shorter books and starting off with shorter reads, short story collections are a great place to start. There's something about being able to complete a story within a few minutes, and short stories build the momentum of, I guess, like that dopamine hit you get when you finish something. I do have a short story collection that I'm going through right now before bed, and it's called Never Whistle at Night. It's a dark fiction anthology of indigenous stories, and I think I'm a quarter of the way through, but every night I just read one short story and call it a night. It's really good so far. I'm really happy with it. And it's something I highly recommend picking up. And usually with short stories, I read them before bed or when I wake up. It's just a great way to start or end my day with 5 to 10 minutes with a short story that I can finish and feel complete with. And anytime you think of doom scrolling, I recommend picking a book up instead. There's so much time that we spend on our phone just scrolling. So imagine you took that time and you put it towards reading a book. I feel like you could finish a book a week, maybe a week and a half, if instead of doom scrolling, people just picked up a book to read. And honestly, if you prefer digital formats like Kindle and stuff or reading on your phone, that works too. Yeah, it's not just like, oh, you can't be on your phone. It's more of choosing to read something rather than scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. And I can confidently say that since I've gotten a phone, I got my phone when I was 17, my attention span, focus, and I guess want to read or draw or do something that's not technology related has gone down. I feel like because the phone was so accessible to me now and how easy it was for me to talk to my friends, I spent a lot of my time on my phone talking to my friends. And before that, I would just spend my time reading and being by myself. So phones definitely play a part in people's lives when it comes to being present and focused. And so I don't think we can deny that fact anymore. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes right now. I have 1, 2, 3 more tips for you guys. I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be. So my next tip is to set goals, big or small, when it comes to reading. So this year, my goal was to read 50 books. I'm at 41. And last year, I think my goal was 24 and I read 31 books. So just having that number goal was a really big step in me feeling motivated to read more, because I think the year before I read 31 books, I think I only read like 5, to be honest. So I did do a big jump, and I feel like my life has gotten better since making those goals and getting more focused on reading. And I also think, just being a part of the book club has helped me reach my goal because I'm surrounded by other people who want to read. So at minimum, I'm reading 2 books a month, if not more. So moving on to next year, I think my next year's goal is not to really reach a number per se, but more of a book challenge that I want to complete. And I'll go into that more because that will lead us into our next tip, which is join a book challenge or a reading challenge. So there are so many challenges out there that I've seen. The one that I picked up was the bingo card challenge. And I don't know if it's an actual challenge, but I saw something like that and I was like, oh, wait, that'd be really cool to do like a bingo card for reading. So I made my bingo card and I'm going to put it in the description below as a PDF in case you guys want to join me. But basically, I have 25 books that are in the genres. I don't know if they're genres or not. Okay, they're in like a certain criteria. Like let's say like one of the bingo squares is read a book that has been intimidating you and you're scared to pick up. I'll like cross off as I go throughout the year of the books that I've read that fit certain criteria. But that's the challenge I'm doing, is the bingo card challenge. But I've seen the other ones where they're like, oh, read every book with a blue cover on it, or read a book, each title of the book has to start with like each letter of the alphabet, or read books that have titles that begin with the letters in your name so you can spell your whole name. So there are things like that. It just makes reading more fun. It doesn't always have to be, hey, like my goal is to read 30, 40, 50 books a year. And I feel like reading challenges do diversify your reading because with the number challenges, I've only picked up books that I was interested in or like usually tend to lean towards. But with the bingo challenge, I'm trying to read books that I wouldn't have read. Okay, so my last tip is to make reading a whole event. So make it really cozy, romanticize it. Me personally, I love going to this coffee shop called BHBG. It's on Washington Ave in Houston. I'm almost always there. But it's very cozy, and the couches there are so comfortable, and it's so easy to start reading. The lights are really cozy, and the drinks are great. So, really good spot to read if you want to read in a cafe. I also like reading at Pavon, which is another coffee shop in the Montrose area. And if I don't feel like going out, I read at home. I set the lights lower into a warmer lighting. I'll play some jazz music in the background, and I don't usually have anything to drink when I'm at home. So I don't have any of the coffee and the lattes and stuff. But yeah, I just make it really cozy. And my cats are next to me and sleeping next to me, and it's really cute. But yeah, so lately, because I've been playing Bioshock, I've been playing Bioshock ambience jazz. So it feels like I'm underwater and in the 1950s in the Bioshock world. So that's usually my go to. Make an event out of it, light a candle, do something fun that makes you look forward to reading. So that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are looking to join a book club in Houston, feel free to check out mine. Stop by at one of our events or just, DM me for more information on that. There will be a link in the description box below along with a PDF of my bingo challenge if you wanted to join in with me on that. Just a reminder, we don't need to be reading 100 books a year like all these booktubers and book TikTok people. As long as you enjoy reading and you find it really fun and you're doing it for yourself, I mean, I feel like that's all that matters when it comes to reading books. You don't have to read anything like super intelligent all the time, okay? It's supposed to be fun. So whatever you'd like to read, just pick it up and read it. And as always, if you enjoyed my content today and you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone that you think might benefit from watching it. And I will see you guys next time.